great. Okay, thank you. Okay, so welcome to the third in the series of webinars about living and working in Spain as an English teacher. In the first webinar, we talked about the good, the bad, and the ugly of working as an English teacher. In the second, we looked at how to get the best jobs in Spain. If you missed these, you can still see them on our Facebook page, as well as on the blog on our website. Okay, so feel free to look them up. Today, Simon is going to answer questions about how to choose which TEFL course is best for you. The webinar is, like all in these series, mainly directed at people who want to live and work here in Spain, but on this occasion, it's also appropriate for those thinking about teaching English in general. Okay, so if I can ask you to mute your mics, okay, so we can, okay, so you're quite local then, Anna, you're in Seville, just up the road. Yeah, if you have any questions through the webinar, please write the questions in the chat and we'll answer them at the end. Okay, I'll collect them and then we'll talk about them at the end. And then feel free to take notes as we go through or screenshots as well. Okay, so let's go. I'm going to start with a kind of a very general question for Simon. Mainly, basically thinking about why you should get a qualification at all. Lots of teachers living and working in classrooms, either real classrooms or online classrooms, have no qualifications all over the world, including in Spain. So why do you think a qualification is necessary?
Hi, thanks for that question, Danny. Good one. Yeah, you're absolutely right. There's loads of people who are working either without qualifications or with qualifications which aren't fantastic, and many of those teachers are doing a brilliant job. You may well be one of those people. I'm just going to share my screen a second so you can see what I'm going to be talking about. Okay, hopefully you can see my screen now, can you? Great, fantastic. Okay, good. People who've seen these webinars before know that I just have a few things on the PowerPoint. It's not death by PowerPoint, but just the main things will be there. Feel free to take any notes that you want to around it or take any screenshots. And don't forget that the recording will also be available for you. Okay, we'll send it to you via email, anybody who's registered for the webinar, and you will also be able to find it on our social media, on Facebook, and on our blog at activelanguage.net. Okay, so the question was around why do a qualification? I think that or who should do a qualification perhaps is a better question to ask. I speak to lots of teachers in lots of situations, and increasingly people who come to our course or courses of this type, we run the Trinity CertTESOL here in Cadiz, and increasingly people come to our courses who have some experience and now want to professionalize a bit. There are two reasons they give. One is they want to get better jobs, which require a better level of qualification. And the other is to understand the processes of learning and teaching languages and give themselves more confidence to do a better job for themselves and for their students. If we take the first part first, this idea about getting better jobs, teachers tell us that they're not getting interviews in better schools despite being well experienced and perhaps having an initial qualification of some type. A good qualification is a filter. For many language schools, there's just no way through that. This series of webinars is focused on teaching in Spain, and here, FESE, the National Federation of Language Schools, and there are also regional associations like ASEIA here in Andalusia. Of these places, most of the member schools insist on what we're calling here a proper TEFL course. So that would be a Trinity CertTESOL or the Cambridge equivalent CELTA. Okay. The second idea, this idea about teaching confidence. Teaching English thankfully, is not rocket science. But having said that, there's still an awful lot to learn about teaching and learning. And of course, just because we speak the language doesn't mean we can teach it. Incredibly, there's still lots of people who think that's true. It simply isn't, not true. We need to know what we're doing and why we're doing it. It's about respect, really, respect for our students above all else, doing what's right for our students and being a good professional. Rightly, we often complain about shoddy behaviour by employers. Well, we have a responsibility to be professional as much as they do. Will people get a job without qualifications, or without proper qualifications here in Spain? Yes, frequently. But what sort of job in what sort of school? If you want access to the better jobs, then a proper qualification is required.
Okay, so other people come to the course with no experience and no qualifications. Are these courses appropriate for them as well?
Yes, they are. Yeah, the courses are designed for people who don't have experience. Everybody has their strengths and weaknesses, their situations in life. We've all done bits and bobs of training in other situations as well. And so really, who are the people that come to our course? So people come to the course in order to then maximize their earning potential. So people come to earn, of course they do. Whether you are already, whether you're living in a country you want to teach online, or you want to teach in classrooms around the world, teaching English is a way to make money. I should add, it's not a way that any of us become rich. That would be lovely if it was, but I know very few wealthy TEFL teachers, that's for sure. But we should be able to earn a reasonable living. Other people do the course because they want to live in a different country, or they want to travel and have an adventure. Some people may have settled, in this case in Spain, and are looking for a way to live and work here, to be part of the community. One of the things I love about teaching is it's allowed me to become part of the community in a different way. Not just living in Spain, but living and working and contributing to some extent. Other people want to travel. Great, fantastic. People will travel and teach. Whether it's a stable situation you're in or a changing situation, you owe it to yourself and your students to be properly qualified. Other people, of course, do the course when they want to change their lives. It is a life-changing moment for many people. It certainly was for me. Back in 1997, I did my course. Crikey, that makes me feel extremely old. It was a life-changing courses. People who are extremely well qualified, and they always talk about how much they enjoy it and how much they learn and how enriching it is. Above all, at the bottom it says, make a professional choice. If you want to be seen as a professional, you should make those professional choices.
Okay, so in terms of the the entry requirements, can you talk a little bit about that, please, Simon?
Yes, I can.
Thank you.
Hold on. The basic entry requirements, here we go. Yeah, fabulous. Okay, people ask all sorts of questions about who can and who can't do a Trinity CertTESOL or an equivalent course. Is there a minimum age? Yeah, the minimum age is 18. To be honest, a lot of people who do it after university, which leads us to the next question. Is a degree required? A degree is not required. Most teachers do have a degree. For teaching here in Spain, a degree is not required. Many schools will prefer teachers who do have a degree, but it's not essential. If we go back to the age idea, the minimum age, I could also have added there perhaps a maximum age. There is no maximum age. If you've got the right attitude and the right spirit, anybody can do the course, and anybody can be a happy teacher working in Spain. Previous teaching experience, is that required? No, it's not. As I said, the course is designed for people who don't have teaching experience. Despite the fact that many people do, everybody gains from it. Our role is to take you through the process So no previous teaching experience is required. Another question we get asked a lot is, do we need to speak English as a first language? And again, the answer is no. It's a great myth that people who speak English as a first language are the only people who can teach it, while there continues inappropriately to be a prejudice or a preference for people who speak English as first language. It is not a requirement. And thankfully, even here in Spain, these things are changing. Slowly, but they are changing. So, in many ways, people who speak English as a second or third language are at a big advantage. In fact, 40% of our recent graduates have been speakers of other languages as a first language rather than English. If we think about in the classroom, when we're teaching our students, the impact of someone who's learned English, the ideas, the knowledge, the experience that those people have can be much, much more valuable in many ways than someone who speaks English as a first language. So, minimum, maximum age, 18 plus, up to whatever age. We've had people of all sorts of ages on our courses. Not unusual for people in their 60s to do the course, or their 50s. We've yet to have anyone in their 70s or 80s, but I'm sure that will happen soon. Is a degree required? No, it's not, but most people do. Previous teaching experience? No. For English as a first language? Neither. What you do need to do is to come to the course being prepared to work hard, to be open to new ideas. During the course, we have ups and downs. Of course we do. We do because we care about it. If we didn't care, we wouldn't have those ups and downs. When we do a class that goes well on the course, we feel fantastic. When we do a lesson that doesn't go well, we can feel terrible. But these are the ups and downs that any course of this nature has. And of course, you need to be interested in language learning and language teaching. Really, the opportunities are there for everyone. No matter where they're from, their age, their gender, there's opportunities for everybody.
If I can just add in there as well around the second point around a degree being required, there's the idea that often it's not required but preferred. And I think it's the idea that you have academic qualifications that would normally allow you into higher education, because in terms of the academic content, it just makes it, if you've worked within that context, it's a lot easier to kind of cope with the, as Simon talks about, the ups and downs of the course. Okay, but it's not a prerequisite.
Yeah, anyway,
so there's a huge variety, and every week more and more, a huge variety of TEFL courses on the market. You know, they just keep popping up on Facebook and Instagram. How can we kind of tell the good from the bad, as it were?
Great. Yeah, okay, this brings us on to the next question. This is a longer answer. Really, the things to look for are here. There's a 9-point guide. They're separated 1 to 6 and then 7 to 9, as they have. Yeah, I think the first 6 are really important things to think about. As you say, there are lots of courses on offer. I think at the bottom of the page it says that all that glitters is not gold. We need to be careful. We need to be sure we're taking the right course for us more than anything. How can we tell? Okay, first thing is proper validation. Validation is who says the course is good, who says that this course is a recognised course. Is it Ofqual validated? Ofqual is the UK regulatory board for all sorts of qualifications, and they call it a level 5 course. Level 5 is, as Danny was saying, is equivalent to a second year or first year university degree level. So if Ofqual say it, recognise it, then that's a good place to start. At the same time, we need to recognise that Ofqual has opened up its parameters, so it's not the only measure, but it must be Ofqual recognised and Ofqual validated for it to be a reasonable course. Okay. The second is around professional recognition. This seems similar to validation, but it's importantly different because it's that who recognises the course. Validity or validation is that who says it's a good course, who's backing the course. The recognition is about who accepts the course. This is all about employers. What courses they know, what courses they value and trust. The two most recognised courses and most respected courses are the Trinity CertTESOL and the Cambridge version CELTA. There's very little between these courses. There are some important differences and some important reasons why we've chosen to do the Trinity course. But in terms of employers and recognition, it really doesn't matter. Either of these are good. Some employers say to me, I don't care what kind of qualification my teachers have got. Really, the aim of these webinars is to help you find the best jobs you can. Good employers require good qualifications. In Spain, as I said, look to ASAIA, look to FESE and other associations. All these bodies recognise and prefer these two courses, as do the British Council, both in Spain and internationally. So if you're looking for a proper job and a proper career in teaching English, get the best you can. The next is about number of hours. A course will say how many hours it is. You'll get a good idea what those expectations are. Courses of any reasonable depth are around 130 hours, and frequently it can be more. A level 5 qualification means, or should mean, a lot of work. If anybody says it's an easy course, then there's something interesting here just to be aware of. Recently in social media comments, in chat, I've seen things saying the course was 140 hours, but don't worry, I did it in 6. Crikey, what sort of a course is this? What sort of quality is there in this course? If anybody tells you that the course is easy, that the course is quick, then be wary of those courses. What we do, as it says here, is 130 hours, which are contact hours, plus 70 hours expected of self-study. It can frequently be more than that. This is an important guide. The other thing is around course structure. Is there detail on the website about the structure of the course and what's expected of you? Look for detail. Does it give you confidence, or does it raise more questions than answers? Important that you're clear on a proper course structure. Essentially, number 5 is perhaps my favourite point here. Maybe it should have been number 1. Is there teaching practice? Is it guided and assessed teaching practice? Teaching practice is where you're teaching your students. This should be at the heart of any good TEFL course. You wouldn't learn to drive a car without getting behind the wheel. You shouldn't be preparing to teach English without being in the classroom. That classroom can be online, or it can be in bricks and mortar surroundings. A good course will always have teaching practice. A word of caution here as well. What is that teaching? Who are the students? On some courses, the teachers may well be teaching other teachers, pretending to be students. This really isn't valid or appropriate. How many hours teaching practice should you be doing? You should be doing at least 6 hours teaching practice. And that should be guided, observed, and assessed by highly qualified and experienced tutors. Guided means that you'll be helped through the process. You'll start by being given very clear instructions, and by the end of the course, you should be able to plan, deliver, and reflect individually and independently on that lesson. Observe means there's an experienced tutor watching, making notes. There may be your peers watching as well, and you should get proper, in-depth feedback on that. And assessed, yes, you're not just going through the motions of teaching practice, you're being assessed on it. A mark that means something, as well as guidance as to how to improve. Number 6, moving swiftly on, is price. €1,500. Crikey, that's a lot of money. Generally speaking, you get what you pay for. If a course costs €50 on Groupon, it's not the same as a course that costs €1,500. Do be careful. Again, price is a guide. It's not the guide, but of course it's a guide. Running a Trinity CertTESOL course is an expensive business. You're getting lots of hours of contact, you're getting lots of experience, you're getting the Trinity seal of approval, etc., etc. Lots of courses you'll see online suggest the basic course at around €200, a deluxe version at about 400, and if you really want to push the boat out, you can spend €600 on their all singing, all dancing version. Again, be wary of these. They're really well designed, but may not be the course you think they are. Okay. Then we're into 7, 8, and 9, a proven track record. Yeah. How long has the course provider been providing the course? How long have they been doing the job? Is there pre-course rigor? Is there an interview to check your motivation? If it's too easy to join a course, again, you should be careful of that. During the interview, before the course, they should check your motivation, your capacity, your academic ability, your language ability and knowledge. You should have a clear idea at the end of the interview about your strengths and weaknesses moving into the course. Also, before the course, is there any pre-reading required and a task to do to orientate yourself and prepare yourself for the course? Again, this is something that really marks out a good course. Worth asking those questions. Also, is there a deeper reading list? Does it feel like a professional qualification that you're moving into? Are there other introductory courses that might be available, either paid or free courses? These are all things that will give you an indication. What about post-course, after the course? Is it a place where you will just you'll do the course and then you'll leave, or will you be taken care of afterwards? That post-course support is really important in helping you find a job and helping guide you through things. So I think that the thing to remember really is that all that glitters is not gold, and these are my top 9 suggestions for what makes a good TEFL course.
And then if I can just jump back to the number 6, which is obviously a very important consideration for a lot of people. This is like the general, especially in Spain, this is what you're looking at around this cost for a kind of internationally recognised qualification. That's the kind of.
And while we're on that subject, actually, thank you, Danny. For those of you who are here live, then there'll be a super special offer at the end, especially for you, which we won't be recording. That's especially for you for being here. Also, you can look out for special offers. There may be scholarships available on different courses. We run a scholarship at Active Language Teacher Training, as well as special offers through the year. That should be the guide price, okay? But maybe you could even negotiate with a course provider. So yeah, there may be some wiggle room on price.
Okay, great. I think so. This is all really useful information, and I think when people move into that thing. When they move into applying for a course, how can they then check that the course is legitimate, kind of the real deal, as it were? What kind of factors are there, Simon?
Well, I think these several factors should be your base point, but also when you're going through, do check the website carefully. Does it inspire confidence, or is it just selling a dream? Watch out for guaranteed jobs. That's something else to be aware of. You're almost certainly better off finding your own job than a course that guarantees those jobs. A guaranteed job is often a course that nobody else wants to, is a job that nobody else wants to do. So be careful what you might be getting into there. I'm not aware, I may be wrong, but I'm not aware of any Trinity CertTESOL or CELTA providers that guarantee you a job at the end of the course. A career service, yes. Post-course support in finding a job, absolutely yes. But guaranteed job is worthwhile being careful. Check the reviews. What are people saying about it? Are those reviews recent? Are they old? Do they seem genuine to you or not? Do check social media as well. What are these people posting? You're making an investment here. It's worth doing some research. How do they interact with people? What are people saying about them? We talked about the validating body before. I think it's really important to check the authenticity of the validating body. It's really easy to put a stamp on your website or to even invent a validating body. So do check that. A short story here. Recently, I followed a trail by an applicant who applied to work here with us. We run a language school as well. And their course seemed to have all the right elements about it, but I followed it up and it wasn't a validating organisation I was aware of. Very open-mindedly, I set about doing a little bit of research. A few clicks through and I found very little information. The validating organisation inspired no confidence at all in me, and when I relayed this to the teacher who was applying for a job, they were understandably upset and felt like he'd been misled a little bit by the course provider. He'd spent a lot of money on his course, so do check those things as well. For example, one way of doing this is Trinity College London, who run the Trinity CertTESOL, obviously. They have a list of approved course providers on their website. This should be a must for any validating body. The next thing, of course, is to ask the profession. Talked about FESE and ASE in the British Council before in the Spanish context. Yeah, ask them. You'll get good advice. Get in touch with them and you'll nearly always get good, solid advice from them. On social media as well. One of the things that's wonderful about our profession is teachers are generally very giving people. So on websites, on social media, you'll always get lots of feedback. Lots of it's correct, not all of it, so do be careful with that. Groups like TEFL Teachers in Spain on Facebook, or more specifically, TEFL Teachers in Seville, if you're in Seville, or in Cadiz, or wherever you may be. Some people really know what they're talking about, and other people less so. But you'll hear the same stories coming through again and again. It is worth asking the profession. More than anything, I think, do your research. If it looks too good to be true, it probably is. If it ends up in dead ends or non-recommendations, then take those things seriously.
Okay, thank you, Simon. There are lots of different ways to do the course. So in terms of doing it kind of a full-time intensive course or over a longer time, kind of a part-time idea. What have you got to say about, is there a better way of doing it? Any kind of advice there?
Yeah, thank you. That's the next question. Are some formats better than others? Yes, some are. Well, no, there's a number of different ways of doing it. So it really depends on you. You need to make the best choice for you. Are you in a hurry? Do you have limited time frame? Do you have, or are you looking for a longer course, which can spread over time and perhaps be more adaptable and flexible? Some people say, I just want to get it done. And we run 5-week courses here at Active Language on the Trinity CertTESOL. Other courses are 4 weeks. These are 4 or 5 weeks of really, really hard work. You'll be living, breathing and sleeping TEFL in many ways at that point. So do have a think about that. Anna's saying that she's a mum looking for something to fit in with kids. Yeah, that's a really important point as well. You need to choose something that can fit in with your lifestyle and the way that you want things to be. Again, a good course provider will answer those questions for you. Okay, do think about your situation. Some people, especially, even I was talking to someone the other day who's going to do our course, who's got 2 small children, and she's decided to do the 5-week course because she just wants to do it in the summer, get it done, and she knows that the children can be looked after by family or other people. She's lucky in that respect, and she'll be able to do the course. But do talk to a course provider. They should be experienced. They should guide you. Other people in those situations might want to look at a longer course. Courses can spread over an academic year as well. There's all sorts of different ways of doing it. Okay, think about what's best for you. Think about how you work best. Other people who do a shorter course, for example, over 10 or 11 weeks, might say, actually, I was working lots and lots of hours through those 10 weeks, and perhaps I'd be better off doing a shorter course. At least then it's sort of all together rather than spreading out. There's always homework to do. There's always homework to do on these courses. As a rough guide, you should expect to spend, remember we talked about 130 plus 70 hours. That's 200 hours in total, approximately. Depends how quickly you work to some extent as well. So if it's 200 hours over 5 weeks, that's 40 hours a week, which is 8 hours a day over that period of time. And that it should include everything. Some people take longer to do things, but you should be able to get it done within that sort of time frame, okay? Not for the faint-hearted. If you think about it over 10 weeks or 11 weeks, it's still a lot of hours every day, okay? 4 or 5 hours a day you could be.
May I interrupt at this point? Just on that tip, because it's very interesting talking about finding something that suits people. So the idea of doing 5 weeks and getting it out of the way, and it's a lot of hours, but some times are busier than others. So it is having the support around, as Simon said. The other thing is, at the moment, we're on our 11-week course, we have a mum of a 5-month-old baby, and she's doing it over 11 weeks. And also she's doing it while the baby's so little, because it's kind of a little bit easier than a year down the line. But again, it's about organising the support beforehand. If you have often people who have a lot of life commitments would choose a longer course, but then the key is to set up your life around it and try and incorporate it. It's a limited amount of time, but it's just kind of thinking, okay, for the next 11 weeks or 15 or 36 or whatever it is, this is how it will work for me. Okay, and as Simon said, it's really important that a reputable course provider would flag this up for you, okay, and not just kind of go, yeah, lovely, yeah, sign you up, in you come. There you go. Back to you, Simon.
Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely right. A good course provider will talk to you about what's best for you. And if you're not sure, shop around. There's lots of courses available. A word about timing, which is the last one on the list. Timing is really important. It may be that people want to do the course now during the summer in order to get a job in September. So in that case, the options may not be so widespread. It really is, as Danny said, about getting yourself organised. Okay, let's look at the difference now between classroom-based, online and blended courses. Traditionally, these courses have happened in the classroom, teaching students. The COVID pandemic has meant that the reputable courses have shifted online. Previously, there were no, this is one good thing I think to come out of the pandemic, is that the profession has moved forward a bit in this regard. That previously there were no, or very few, 100% online courses. Teaching practice had to happen in classrooms. Now there's a choice. Here at Active Language, for example, we offer both a face-to-face version and an online version. They are exactly the same. The teaching practice just happens on Zoom. Simple as that. Of course, it's a different experience. And for some people, it's much more convenient. And for other people, the thought of it is that they'd much prefer to do a classroom-based course. Pros and cons to different things in different ways. The number of hours is more or less the same. Of course, when you're working on your own more, then you can do things quicker or more thoroughly, depending on your speed of work. If people have experience teaching already, then they'll move through certain things quicker than other things. Blended, this is another way of doing the course. What Blended does is try to combine the online course with the classroom-based course as well. It may be that you'll do some teaching practice online and some teaching practice in the physical classroom as well. Think about what works best for you. I think that's really, really important. You might want to think about the job, the sort of work you want to do. Maybe if you've got lots of experience already teaching in classrooms, then you might want to do an online course to improve your knowledge there. Or maybe you really love the magic of the physical classroom. I know I do, to be honest. And so that's where you want to focus. As I said, do be careful with courses that aren't Trinity or Cambridge courses with 100% online courses. Some are fabulous and some, frankly, are worthless. Remember about teaching practice. The requirements should be the same. They certainly are on these better courses that we talk about. If you are thinking about doing an online course, yeah, be aware of the hours, but also think about your environment as well. You may well be there for teaching practice, which could easily take up to 4 hours when we're talking about the preparation, the teaching, the observation, the reflection, the feedback. This process can take several hours a day, as well as the online modules you may well be doing, as well as adding on to that any assignments and lesson planning that are required. My top tip would be get a comfortable chair. Your working environment is really, really important. At the moment, I'm sitting on a sort of school classroom chair. It's rather uncomfortable. I wouldn't want to be sat here for any more than an hour or so. Certainly not for a course of this nature, which can take many hours a day over 5 weeks. So look after yourselves.
Okay, so we talk briefly then about our course. So our next Trinity CertTESOL starts on the 26th of July. It's over 5 weeks, and there are both face-to-face options here in Cadiz, or 100% online. So Simon, then how would you kind of reckon ours compares to what you've said throughout this webinar?
Great, yeah, thank you. Yeah, this is the sales moment, if you like. Everything that we talked about on the course, and don't forget there is that very special offer coming up at the end. Everything that we talked about during the beg your pardon. Trying to do 2 things at the same time. There we go. Hope nobody saw that. Carry on. Everything that we talked about during the webinar thus far, you'll get with us. The Trinity CertTESOL with us, active language really is the professional choice. Different ways of doing it, as we talked about. 5 weeks is our current offering, online or classroom based. The tutors are fantastic. I'm involved a little bit on the course, but not a lot, so I can happily say that the tutors are fantastic. We've been training since 2005. Hundreds of people have come through our courses. So basically, I think the thing to remember is that with us, you'll be in really safe, experienced hands. We'll help you, we'll tell you if the course is right for you or not. We are a small organisation rather than a massive machine, and we really care about the people that come through our course. We guarantee you really personal attention from us. And for those of you who are watching later, lots of people watch these webinars later, this is where you're going to leave us. As I said, we're going to make a very special offer to those people who are with us live. So for those of you who aren't, who are watching later, just want to finish off for you guys by saying thanks for watching. And remember, a few things to remember. There are opportunities for everyone in ELT. All that glitters is not necessarily gold. Do your research carefully and think about what's best for you. And I do think that really we should all be making the professional choice. We hope to see you on one of our courses soon. and happy TEFLing. Bear with me. At this point, I'm going to stop recording. If I can find the right button, here we go.